Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on 3 of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, and did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
Oh, Saturday. Woo! With Renee. One day that's going to get produced and it's going to be fly.
You're just gonna make it work out. Figure it out.
One day. What's going on, Renee? Welcome everybody. How are you doing?
I'm glad it's Saturday. Work can be stressful, man. It's mad stressful.
Yeah.
So
yeah. This is the fun times here at BPM. What's up, remixers? Welcome everybody. Please do like, share, subscribe, do all the things as you come on in. Do all of those things. Welcome. Yes, so we got a packed schedule. And we know we got a little bit of an early exit today, and then of course we always want to make way for Warrior class. So I'll have time to stretch, plenty of time today, and Coco's going to be on.
I was just about to say we got double reason to make sure we don't mess around at 1 o'clock.
That's a lot of warriors in class today. But with that. All the greetings having been taken care of, where should we begin?
There's so much going, man. You know, why don't we start with Mississippi? Just because.
Goddamn.
Mississippi. Yeah. I need that story to not be what that story is anymore. And every time another piece gets added, it's just crazier than the last time. So
this one here, remind us just what the backdrop was. The headline here, at least, is Mississippi man had ID in his pocket when he was buried with his family without his family's knowledge.
So this is a story we started talking about a few weeks back, because DexterWade his mother had been looking for him for 6 months. She filed the police report, and they finally let her know that he was buried in, the anonymous burial site, because they could not, according to them at least, they couldn't find next of kin. So the mother finally is able to get her child. Turns out he was struck by a police officer, which now we must still question what actually is the story with this. And they buried him, claimed they didn't know who he was. They didn't have a good number to contact next of kin. And then the body has been now exhumed. That was done prior to the time that the family was notified it was going to happen. So the family arrived to witness the body being exhumed and found out that it had already been exhumed. And now they've discovered that not only did they quickly bury this man, they didn't even take care of the body properly when they buried it. There's all kinds of messiness. Apparently his leg was amputated. He had ID in his pocket, so there's no question that they should have been able to identify him. But this is,
so that was,
this
I mean,
story is
that was the thing that of all the madness, I have to say that one of the things that confused me about this is that why would they leave the wallet and the ID or the ID in his pocket?
right.
If you've gone to the
But
I don't know why that's messing with me. It's like, because you've gone to you've already said, you've already decided you're just going to get rid of the body. You're not going to tell anybody. But why not go the extra step just to cover yourself and throw the whatever away? It's almost like an additional troll.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder,
disrespect.
And you have to wonder, did they just, these people are ghouls, right? They're just not, it's not good people. And so you have to wonder, did they just figure we'll be able to get away with it, so it don't matter? We'll just bury him real quick and right.
I mean, Manny has a couple good suggestions. I'm really just admitting that I'm just stuck on, I guess, I'm never sure what's going to get me stuck. And that's just right. That for some reason is, I just was, as I was looking at it, like, what?
Right. I mean, obviously there's more to what happened with this story than anyone is aware of, right? I mean, the man's leg was amputated. They didn't embalm the body. So, in my opinion, there's definitely, Yip is also asking a good question. How many others are out there, right? Like, what is the real story here? And, I think we discovered the last time that this was not the only person in the family who had been.
That's right.
Right. And so one must just question, like, is there more to this? Did they just figure we'll get away with it? No one's, if we just keep telling her it's a missing case, was it a mistake that she found out where the body was? Was that somebody like low key dropping dimes on the on the police department? Like,
so the story says here that Crump urged the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate Wade's death and its aftermath. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, what is Crump's involvement in this?
Right.
Are they building towards some sort of lawsuit, or is it?
They would have to. That's the only time he ever. It's the thumbs, man. I mean, that's the only time he gets involved is when he's trying to collect his 33%. So one must assume there's a lawsuit coming, because that's his justice. Right. That's his version of justice, right? Is making sure he gets his 33%. So,
and then the Justice Department will do the investigation for him. That's slick.
Right.
What do they call that? Externalize the cost of the investigation for your case.
Right. And then the Justice Department will do the same thing that they always do. They come back and they tell you that the police department is jacked up and they're racist and this thing is happening and whatever. And then nothing else comes from it, and they'll get more money to do whatever it is that they want to do next. And, we'll just keep it moving.
Right.
Well, unless, people stop doing that. People got to organize.
Lead, please clarify and check. I think last week's show, we were even talking about Sudan. I believe that was last week.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we did Sudan. Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Sorry about that. My bad, but please clarify. So, okay.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Mahi wants to come back because I told her I wanted her to come back, and she said, yeah, absolutely. So she has the charter. And I feel like looking at that charter would be David said. I can't stand David. I love David, but the puns, man, the puns. Sorry. So Mahi has the charter from the Sudan people that she discussed, and I think it might be a good thing to talk about. You know, how they were trying to organize and what the people were planning to do, and you know, I'd like to give people ideas. You know, how can we? Because waiting for the system to change is not going to happen. So it's going to have to. The swell is going to have to come from a different direction. It's going to have to come from the people and move up, which is why I shared that information about LA. Because I thought it was very interesting. I had no idea this was a thing. I came across, I got an email for that Medium article. And this is something that they've been fighting for almost a decade, it looks like, in LA, to get the police out. So in PG County in, I think this was 2020, and she'll have to forgive me. So Michaela Wilkes ran in District 5. And she also helped put together a group to run in local seats. And the goal for the group that ran was to stop the police, the school to prison pipeline. That was the platform they ran on, was stopping the school to prison pipeline. And so, so this caught my eye when I got the information, because I was like, okay, so this, you know, there are organizations everywhere that are trying to pull police out of their schools, because it's very, very clear that just like in Mississippi, they kill men in the street, running them over and then bury their bodies and not telling parents and families, that they just, you know, they work without care for the actual community. So why are we allowing these people to wander the school building with their guns and their pepper spray? And like, I never understood it, right? And so it looks like in LA, there was a real push, and it was from the community to get police out of the school buildings. And the organizers came together, and they were somewhat successful. They did get a chunk of money pulled from the police department, and all that money is going to a program in the school district to work specifically with success and improvement of the system for Black students. So I see you did your highlights. So
yeah, I try to be caught up and prepared and as best I can. I mean, you know, you're thorough, your research you got a lot. So it's a challenge. I'm not gonna front, but
sorry.
But a pleasant challenge. But they got specifically to your last point, they got 25 million of the 78 million budget cut, and then redistributed to mental health and student support, something like that. Right. But what got my particular attention here was just the rates of the reported abuse, right, which I almost thought 85% was low, but they said 85% reported being followed by police, questioned, belittled, racially profiled, randomly searched, sexually harassed, and more. And 86% of the 5,000 students who were surveyed said that the school's police expressed desire. I mean, they all 86% of the 5,000 surveyed expressed a desire to defund LA's school police whatever program.
Right.
But I mean, that's crazy. But at the same time, it makes sense. And then it's all to, you know, almost to prepare them for what's going to happen to them should they make it out of school one day.
Right.
So
Right.
Right on.
So
It
I
was a
just thought it
little
was.
bit. No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, it just was. It seemed like it was a little bit. I'm sorry. It was 25 million of the 120 million that got
Right.
defunded. Sorry about that. And then I was just going to look. No, I didn't highlight the exact dispersal of it, but it was what they were doing with it. But it's something about mental health and student support.
Right. And achievement stuff. So that BSAP.
But the loss of momentum, that was the point I was trying to get to, that it sort of ended with like it says, it's still a struggle. So, but good for them.
That line you highlighted right there was one that caught my eye. The challenge to work within the confines of present day school in an anti-Black set of colonial construct.
I mean, that's and that's why the movement needs to be so broad-based, large, and ultimately militant and diverse in its tactics and strategy. But
and every system is always going to be working against having any community power within its schools, right? That's always going to be the fight, is to pull that power away from those who live in the communities and to install whatever it is that you want to install in order to prevent the communities from gaining strength, right? Or gaining the ability to teach each other and to grow. Like we can't have that. Don't put that in place. So it's, as someone who works in the schools, right? Like you abandoned the K-12. Probably rightfully so. But it's not an easy, it is not an easy place to work. I literally go to work every day and I'm like frustrated by my participation in a system that I'm well aware does not function in the way that it needs to function in order for people to actually thrive, right? To actually grow, to actually be able to think critically, to actually be able to think for themselves, right? Like some of my students, I look at them sometimes and I'm like, bruh, like, what are you gonna do when you have to leave this building and go read something and pay attention and like
I only did it for a year at the high school level and was just, it is overwhelming. And then what ends up happening is the handful that make it to the university, many of them that I've been teaching these many years are, more than anything for me, again, is the imagination. And that line that Fanon always, that I've always referenced from Fanon about that the goal of the colonizers to destroy even the dreams of revolution, something to that effect. I got to go find that line again. But the imagination for what can be is disturbed, and what the story you just had us looking at is to me emphasizing is that, of course, because the intent is to normalize policing and over-policing and hostility, and to make it seem as if this is the only way it can be. So it was great to read that this effort that folks are still struggling. It was great to see this week, although I was unfortunately not able at the last minute to support them directly, but it was great to see the Black Underground crew at Morgan State, and supported by, of course, Baltimore's BAP contingent and others, protesting the university's connection to Israel. And just my point being that any sign of we're not good with this and we want to make some noise, because honestly, Morgan does not have in my time, does not have a sort of a tradition of political struggle and student activism.
Right.
So this connected to the story and all that, it's great to see, but it is a complicated and it is by design made for them to not even consider this.
Right. Because they're supposed to be so used to it, right? Like,
that's right.
They're supposed to be used to seeing armed agents of the state walking amongst them and pretending as if they're supposed to be there, right?
That's
like
right.
They're supposed to bend to the will of those people and never ask questions and never, push back and all these things. Like, it's all built in, and it's a brutal situation.
If you look at at Morgan, the expansion of the Northwoods Shopping Center,
mm-hmm.
before the renovation, other than maintaining and moving up the gas station, a version of the grocery store, and of course the McDonald's, the first real renovation that took place was the installation of a police outpost.
Of course.
Before all the new restaurants opened up and the new stores opened up, they had the police outpost there. So
right. I went on a campus here. There was actually a HBCU college fair, and we took a group of kids over to go, and they were doing like on-site admissions and stuff. And there was a bright, shiny university cop car, and I was like, why we need like why you need all that? Like, what for what? So I'm having this internal debate, Jared, and I'm gonna need your help. So we have two directions we can go from here. We can fall down my rabbit hole, because y'all know I gotta do spreadsheets. So we can fall down my rabbit hole, or we can snip over to Tennessee real quick, which is also K through 12 schooling, but from a different perspective, because they are trying to prevent funding from going. And also an interesting, that was something that a reader had sent to me. Somebody who watches us on Saturday.
Or. This is a question of order.
First or second, right? So do we go to Tennessee
let's do the Tennessee
first?
thing first, because it's not unimportant, but it flows with what we were just talking about, and we can and then we can leave a nice clear runway for the extensive
to the rabbit
deep
hole
dive. Yeah. So
I mentioned So I mentioned this last week because somebody, and whoever it was is going to have to forgive me because I can't remember who tagged me on Twitter and said, "Can y'all look into this and see what this is about?" So Tennessee is in line to get $1.2 billion from the federal government. Is it 9? Oh no.
9.
Oh, it's 9. 1.9. Yes, 1.9 billion. This is 7.7 billion more than what they got previous year. The money generally goes to those federally funded programs. So it goes to free lunch, it goes to Title I, it goes to IDEA. Like, that's where the money goes. The Tennessee lawmakers are like, I don't think we want this federal money. So we're going to put together this group to look and determine whether or not we should take this money from the federal government. And the pushback obviously is, well,
there's the line right there for me.
Right.
Because what does that mean? Because if we take federal dollars, we can't ban you from talking about the gays and the trans and people having access to bathrooms and equal rights and abortion and whatever the hell else. They're just like, nah. So they're like, keep your money. And then they can also do the whole thing, small government, we stand against big government.
So in the other article, and I know I threw some of this stuff in there late, so I don't even know if you had a chance to look at it. But
no, I didn't. I'm not even going to front.
The other article points out that a chunk of the Tennessee schools had been turned over to charters.
Oh, Lord.
In the past 10 years. Right.
Oh,
and
Lord.
That's not successful either. So this study breaks down which districts got the money, right? And obviously the richer districts got less money because they don't need it, because they get plenty of funding from, the taxes, everything from the state and the district. But it's just it's a really interesting look at how our schools, why our schools are falling. I mean, they've been falling apart, but why it just continues to be a never-ending stream of not getting a system that is for students to actually learn and to critically think and to be able to ask questions. And you know what I mean? Like, it just
what let me ask you this. What is your, given your educational experience, what is your view of the charter school, or how do you address, in particular, really what I really want to ask is, what is your response when Black people come to you with, we need to support charter schools so we can get control of our education?
No, because it doesn't give them control over their education. The charter school system is like any other privatized system, right? It will work in the places where you have someone who actually gives a shit about it working. But that is going to be the small percentile, right? It's going to be the small grouping of schools. The rest of them, it is a free-for-all because they are not checked, right? We used to, in my old school, we would get students who were coming from the charter school right before it shut down because whatever shit they were doing that didn't match with what the state was requiring got found out, and they couldn't fix it fast enough. So the school had to close and the kids had to find somewhere else to go. Yes. Two schools shut down in the district where I was living while I was working over there, in the district where I was working. And so, and they weren't meeting the minimum requirements for like core subject areas. Like, what do you mean you didn't take world history? That's a state requirement. What do you mean they didn't give world history for a full school year? That's a state requirement. So the charters work like any other nonprofit works, right? If someone is in charge who is not about making money and they're invested in the system and making sure that the thing works the way it's supposed to work because they actually started the charter school because that was the thing they were trying to do, could it work? Of course. Well, anything could work if you have somebody in charge who gives a shit about making sure it works, right? The problem is that's not the majority of charter schools. The majority of charter schools are run by people who work in the privatized system, who saw the school district and the charter school, as an excuse to make money and to bulk the system and to cheat the kids and to fuck over the families. And that's exactly what the result was. So it all sounds good until you end up with somebody in charge who don't give a shit and is just trying to get their check, and they don't really care to make sure that anything's working. It's garbage. The real issue is the fight that people are putting into in order to sustain this charter school system. If they fought as hard to make the damn public school, which already existed, work, you don't need the charter school. Right? Like, we're always looking for something to replace the thing that's not working, right? And like, you're replacing it with something that equally doesn't work, right? Like, it's brutal.
It really is. I see Silberg. I mean, my experience, the 1 year of high school that I was talking about was at a public charter high school in DC. And that was what you described, was exactly the experience I had. And it started with my homeroom students. I'll never forget this. Because I kept being confused. Like, why are these kids never here? And one day the kids started laughing. They were like, Mr. Ball, man, please. Those kids are never going to be here. Those are names that the school uses because it was 15,000, I think, per kid comes to the school. So there's just names going to be on the list that are never actually going to be in the seats. And the kids already knew this. This is like, it took me, I think, 2 weeks of being like, going to the office every day. Like, I don't know why these 6, 7 kids are never like, I was just this naive.
But how wild is that though?
I mean, and it got worse. That's why it got shut down. It got worse. And it was just a money grab.
Yeah.
And the kids, and they're all coming from the worst neighborhoods in the
Yep.
city. They're all struggling, and they've been given this pipe dream to their parents about being elevated and given an opportunity, and it was madness. And not to mention which they had us in a building that had no windows, so we're in a like it was like a construct above a mall. Waterside Mall in Southwest, and it was just no window. So we in there with no windows all day, plus with the metal detector on the way in.
Of course.
So you get the whole, and then no windows all day, packed kids in the classroom, and then it's just madness. It was just madness.
It is madness, and it's again, as I keep saying it, you keep saying, like, it's all intentional, right? Like, if you keep people, stuck in their communities and spaces where they're not able to actually function and grow and learn to be functioning humans and learn again to think for themselves and to research and to read, beloved, you're never going to escape it, and they don't want you to escape it. That's not the goal. The goal is not to create a community of people who are well functioning and able to survive and able to think and able to fix things for themselves and to share amongst themselves and create their own resources. And like, that's never the point. And, I have this conversation a lot with people about like the healthcare system. And, I have to remind people all the time, similar to how education works, the healthcare system is what it is because that's what makes the most money, right? If what made the most money was like functioning humans who needed to learn to read the bags and eat properly and all these things, then we'd all be healthy, right? Because that would be the push. There's a reason that there's a McDonald's on every corner and there's a liquor store in every town, and there's fast food is quicker to get than anything else. There's a reason you can't get fruit. There's a like all of this stuff is built in together, because if you keep society sick, then they have to rely on their healthcare system in order to survive. Because the money is in the treatment. No, you're good. The money's in the treatment. The money's not in prevention, right? It's in the treatment.
That was one of my early definite class bougie. I remember this too. That I would see students, a handful would come to homeroom with McDonald's, and my thing was, that is not a good start for breakfast. Like, this is not healthy. It's not going to help you think throughout the day. But as they made clear to me, that was like, this is a delicacy. This is the come up. This for us, the McDonald's breakfast is the most legit breakfast we're going to get.
Right.
And I had to be like, it was a real humbling, damn, Jared, like moment. But yeah, so just one of the many humbling damn Jared moments that year presented, all based on these ridiculous contradictions that we want kids to deal with.
Right. And they're only going to make the choices that are presented to them, right? So, people all the time, like I try all the time being around teenagers.
Our chat is crazy. You're right. It is facts. But again, the question isn't, is it good? That's the point. It's damn good. I used to destroy the egg and cheese biscuit. Was my thing. Are you kidding? When I was
I have not eaten McDonald's in like a decade and a half.
No, I'm talking about back then. No, I'm talking about when I was in high school, when I was a younger person, or when I was, a hangout all night drinker, come back 3 or 4 and, catch that McDonald's breakfast when they're opening up. It's delicious. But as my joke has become, crack is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, Like nobody said it don't work, but that's not the point. The point is it's very effective at destroying us. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's again, it's intentional. That like, we done got the chat going. Whenever the chat gets going on food, so, sometimes it be smoothies.
No, I just like the little bit of levity there, like
yeah, but
of course it's good. Of course those hash browns, all of it is delicious. I don't, that's not the point, or that is the point.
Yeah, that's the point.
Cheap,
it's cheap,
delicious, and horrible for you.
Right, and that's exactly the plan. That is exactly the plan because why build a community garden if you can go to McDonald's? McDonald's is right there, right? It's wild.
And that's why I can't argue too much when Ear Doctor wants to tell me, they cloned Tyrone as a documentary. I mean, it's because real life is pretty messed up for real.
It is.
Like, so
it is. And now I just want to state, since you said it, before we go to down my rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You have completely jacked up all like watching of TV for me, because every time now, first of all, I watched that Tyrone movie after I watched you and Jackie talk about it, and it was all jacked up. I couldn't even really like enjoy it. I just watched the whole thing with like the critical face going. And then yesterday, as I was in my rabbit hole, what I always do is I let something play in the background so that there's just something going to kind of, be a little distraction for me. And I could not find anything to watch because everything that was on there, I was like, oh, I can't watch this. I'm going to get annoyed. I can't watch this. I'm going to get annoyed. You're messing up my my TV time, man.
I mean, that's why I have what I jokingly refer to as my favorite white programs, because if it stays all white, it's fine. So all my silliness, like Veep, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and then shows that have a lot of episodes, so you can just let it run in the background.
Yeah.
It's so silly.
I did catch up on Black Mirror yesterday, which was good. I only have one left.
Yeah, that's one left. So. The most recent season. People are arguing it's not that great, but I appreciate the attempts at difference.
Yeah, do something different than what is always. Always. There you go. Somebody agrees with you.
I think Veep is. I actually think it's maybe the best thing ever put on television, quote unquote. I think that show is incredibly funny and well written, and it's also it doesn't even the black characters aren't there in a way to. I don't know. It's just silliness. It's just silly. I like having that silly. It doesn't involve stuff. Or stuff that they've canceled, like South Side, which is all black, but not in an attempting to be political way that's going to bother me.
Right. Because that's the problem, right? Like the minute it starts going down, like there's a new movie on Netflix about, and I'm gonna forget his name, that worked with Martin Luther King on the march.
Oh, I know. Somebody was Rustin, Bayer Rustin.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get
that. And the the trailer played, and I was like, I just can't.
No, but you know what I'm enjoying. Although the most recent episode, I think, and then I'll stop here because I know I don't want to take up too much time. But the show Rap Shit on Max, HBO Max.
Oh, I can't afford that, man.
Well, you don't.
You gotta pay for that.
I'm just gonna say you don't have to. But I'm just gonna leave it there. So, but this most recent episode though, it's a little bit. It's just short of pornography, and I'm not ready for all that. I need more clothes to be on, and it's like, and then it's just like everybody's pretty and everybody whatever, but I'm just like, can we just get back to the story? Everybody put their clothes back on and get back to the story. But they went a little bit too much with this last one. I was like, wow, Like,
oh yes, yeah,
you got to let people know. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
forewarning.
I mean, if that's what you want to watch and your mind is ready for that, I think okay. I mean, but if you think you're just watching a regular kind of like a sitcom, and it's like I don't remember them going this far before. I was like, wow. It's like, how do I fast forward on a computer? How do I?
My eyes.
It's like I can't take my old aging eyes can't handle this. I was like, it's a bootleg Insecure. That's funny.
That's funny.
That is okay. All right.
So rabbit hole. Ready for the rabbit hole, people?
Let's.
So everyone can thank Ricky Ryan for the rabbit hole. I don't think I saw her in there in the chat this morning, but everyone can thank Ricky Ryan for this. Because a couple of weeks ago she said, "Would you mind doing some research for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do so. Hit me up, tell me what it is." So she sent me some information about that a student brought to her in her class that she's teaching at the Baltimore school. And so I started poking around.
Wait, Ricky's teaching a class in Baltimore?
Isn't she teaching a school? Isn't she teaching a class at UMBC? I thought she was teaching a class there.
I didn't know that.
I thought
okay.
She be telling you like this is what
she's everywhere.
She is everywhere. So I don't know if it's an official class. Don't get me to lying on Ricky. She's not here, so she can't confirm. But so she's doing something, and the students did a presentation, and they found this interesting link between government research projects and the school. And so I was like, I mean, I know that this happens. There was that big announcement about Howard getting that research contract. And so I said, I was like, well, do we know like how extensive this is? And she was like, no, but that's
big HBCU thing,
right.
Leaving Morgan out of it. I saw Morgan's not on it. That's shameful.
Right. So she was like, well, I don't know how extensive it is, but that's what I was thinking you could look into. So Lord have mercy. So I started digging my rabbit hole, and then I fell all the way down to the bottom. And I was like, what in the world? Because the tentacles of the US government within the college and university system via these research programs it is no fucking joke. It is no joke. So when people see now that students at Columbia are getting silence, that the University of Florida is now being named in a lawsuit because they basically kicked organizations off of their campus, that at Syracuse University programs are being pulled because of safety precautions, that at Harvard, you have a big battle going on between the professors and the school, that at UC, there's entire quiet, like closed door meetings happening in the University of California system because they're trying to figure out how to navigate this battle. People have to start doing what my mother lovingly refers to as following the money. So I bring to you all another one of my spreadsheets.
So this is the research program spreadsheet, right?
This is the research. So this is the list this is the list that I started from.
Oh no, that's not a spreadsheet. Duh.
Yeah, the actual sheet.
Hold on a second. Now where is now?
Should be on the next column over. I started to do it on a Google Doc, and then I was like, I think this is spreadsheet worthy.
Oh, so wait, this is the one I don't have access to.
Oh, okay, hold on.
I think. Yeah. I just put in a request real quick. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. Got everybody all excited, and now we can't.
No, it's all right. That's all right. This is perfect. So I use this quick moment, by the way. So my review for Propaganda in Focus of Orasami Burton's book, Tip of the Spear, is up. Please check iMixWhatILike.org to find it and check it out. And it just elaborates on my point that everyone must read his book. But if you want a little bit of an explanation as to why I'm saying that and to why I'm calling it maybe the best book I've ever read on specifically on the history of mass communications research in the United States. Please check the review and then make sure but just read the book.
Yeah, I need people. I need people. I'm reading it. I need people though. I need somebody to call because you're gonna be next on the list if I don't get a group together. There's gonna be Jared. Did you see this? But
and I really think one thing I did not say in the review is that I think at some point I think we need to have a discussion of his book just specifically to what it says about sexuality and gender. I think our approach to that is going to have to involve a major adjustment in light of what he's saying here.
Right. I'll let you know when I get to that chapter.
Anyway, okay.
All right. Can you see it now?
Let me try. Let's see one more time for the kids in the back. There we go. Yep. There it is. And now there it is.
So.
Yes.
Yes. Turns out, y'all, that the Department of Defense has installed these research programs literally across the country. And you'll notice a couple of those are K through 12 public school districts, one of those. That's how far it goes.
Wow.
What I also discovered in my search of this is there are these conglomerates, right? Like these groupings of schools. And so if you go to that, like the Sandai, which is working with the Department of Energy, the reason there's a link there.
Wait.
Down at the bottom. So it's the Department of Energy, Sandia National Laboratories. And where it should be a college, it's a link. There's a reason for that. It was too many schools. And I didn't want to mess up my I didn't want to mess up my spreadsheet. Look at, there you go. See in the middle? See in the middle how it starts with Alabama? Just start clicking over. Just start clicking over. Start clicking over. Keep going.
Wow.
Keep going. Still going.
Wow.
Still going. Still going.
University of Maryland.
Still going.
Dang. Cornell.
Still going.
My people, Cornell. Damn.
Right. So, like, this is all, like, so when you see this, right, when you look initially at the list, so when I first opened it up.
Liverpool, Manchester.
Right.
De Pisa.
So when I first did the initial search to see what these university research things were, it tells you we have 17 programs, which when you hear the word 17 programs, it doesn't sound like that much, right? The problem is that those 17 programs, those are like the baseline of it. They don't talk about how far out these things reach. And I picked Sandia for you to pull up on purpose because that was the biggest list of schools by far that I came across. But even the program with Howard is the guiding body for a group of schools. So they announced Howard and they said, oh, the Navy's going to be working with Howard and it's a research program and da-da-da-da-da. But they didn't mention all the other schools that Howard was going to be pulling in behind it to work with these same programs. And it's not a short, we're not talking about 2 or 3 schools. I think it's like 10 to 12 schools. It's a long list.
Yeah. And wait, didn't you have a link for that in here?
It's in
What
there.
was I
It's
just
on the
looking at?
spreadsheet.
Yeah, because I was
If you
because I
go
noted
at,
that they do not have
right. So if you go to where
Morgan
it
on the
says
list.
Howard University and click on it, it'll take you to the page that lists all the schools that are part of the program that's being headed up by Howard.
Yeah. It's a group of HBCUs that they're in charge of. Hold on a second. I'll get there. But
no worries.
The real point of the story is Morgan's not on it, and I was mad. Like, why is Morgan being left out? Because I know they're in competition for who's going to be the first HBCU to get Research 1 status. That's what is driving at least some of their interest in doing this. And I think that they both know that they cannot. There it is. That they cannot get there through traditional, quote unquote, traditional academic ways. So all of it is through what's being described here in this new research center collaboration
right.
through STEM programs.
Right.
So it's a Defense Department leaders announced today the creation of a 15th university affiliated research center associated with Howard University in Washington, D.C., sponsored by the U.S. Air Force on tactical autonomy. And then it's all about STEM. 30% STEM, and then there's the list was in here somewhere.
Yeah,
there's good old Lloyd.
There it is.
Yeah.
Lead the consortium.
So we have Howard University, Jackson State, Mississippi. Jackson State, Tuskegee, Hampton, Virginia. Hampton, of course, in Virginia. Bowie State, Norfolk State. I keep reading the states. Delaware State, Florida Memorial, and Tougaloo. So Bowie, shout out to our sister HBCU here in Maryland at Bowie, but they left Morgan out, and I believe it's because they're in this race.
Right, they're in competition to get the most money to kill other Black people that they can get.
No, Renee, no. No. I will not have you know. It is to become the first HBCU Research 1 institution. You will not stop it. No. We don't do that. We don't do that here.
But I mean, it's wild. And, just as I was doing.
Yes, right. Yipper, it's to lift Black people, Renee.
Yes.
Yipper,
yeah.
Listen to Yipper.
I mean, I can't wrap my head around how many schools are involved in this. And if you look at the spreadsheet, these things have been going for decades. These are not new programs, right? There's a chunk of them. Like if you do and this is, my own road as I fall down these damn holes trying to find information. How many of them are linked to the Manhattan Project? That's what kicked it off. The Manhattan Project. Right. I mean,
so nuclear war. 1942.
I mean, it's just
1947.
The SUNY system, the University of California system, the Florida system, all the Ivies. I mean, it was a lot. And some of them, it's cleverly, because not all of these are like the official UARC programs, right? They're not the official 17 that they talk about. Some of these are DoD research programs that are run through the college and university. right? So it's not listed as an official like university research center, but it is a university-based research center working for the DoD, like literally working for the DoD. And the Department of Energy, which is not technically, I guess, the Defense Department of Defense. But if you look at the Department of Energy, what I discovered yesterday is it's the number one employer of military people. Right? So they're all
really.
It was Forbes. Forbes listed the Department of Energy as the number one employer for military people.
Wow. I mean, they got a lot of stuff here.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I fell down such a rabbit hole because I could not believe how far reaching this was. And it's all hidden as part of the university. But what they're really doing is researching biochemicals and bioweapons and nuclear war and, again, how to kill people. Because, that's what our defense department does.
At least one small part of it, and I'd like to do more of my own looking into some of this. At least a small part of it is in the messaging, information, intelligence analysis,
communications.
Yep.
And this is the program that works very closely with the Alexandria City Public Schools, which I found to be extremely distressing that they were deep into the public school system in Alexandria City, doing science fairs and giving grants and, all of these things. And, I worked in Fairfax County for almost 10 years. I used to live in, when I was living in PG County, I worked in Fairfax City. And that whole Northern Virginia area is wild, right? You have all of the people who live and work in DC, but are commuters. So they're all part of the government, right? Fairfax County, when I was working there, was like the third richest county in the country. I don't know if it's still that high up.
It's would have to be. And in Montgomery County on the other side, in Maryland, particularly with the I can't remember the name of the area, but there's a lot of money over there. The people with money that have to work in DC live in that area. And then from the Pentagon to down the road to Quantico.
Right. And those programs, those are just the ones that, like, I didn't even leave on there the ones that weren't attached to the schools. That list is only the research programs that are attached to some school or university in some way, shape, or form. And for some of them, they hide it in internships, right? Like, you can do an internship, or you can do this study program, but your classes are actually at the UCLA campus, even though UCLA, if you look, is not listed as a research program. The MITRE group, the MITRE Corporation, that's MITRE, they have, I don't even remember the number. It's in the dozens of offices all over the country. And again, this is why I was like, I'm gonna need a ladder and a flashlight, because what I ended up doing, because I was so convinced that MITRE was not just offices. So I had to go to each city and figure out, is this actually related to a college? So of course, come to find out that their office is actually at the University of Vermont. Right? Like, it's literally like the address is the University of Vermont, right? And so then I had to go back, because now I'm like, okay, so it said the University of Vermont for this particular one. Is that the only one? So then I start researching every state, And come to find out, they have an agreement with Virginia. So although they aren't technically an ARC, a university research, right? They're doing work with 4 schools in Virginia, University of Virginia being one of them, right? So yes, Virginia Tech is on the list, Big Teal. It was Virginia Tech, University of Virginia. I don't know. It's on that list, and I'm you can share that list because I'm done. Like I've done all the pulling that I can do, and I think what I would encourage people to do is, if you work at a university or you support a university, you're an alumni from a university, anything, like look and see, is your school somewhere on this list and attached to one of these programs, right? MITRE does a whole lot. And so it's just, I think it was George Mason. Let me look just so I don't drive myself, because this is what always ends up happening. Because I was just surprised, because if you just go, it's George Mason, Old Dominion, University of Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Those were the 4 Virginia schools that are working with the MITRE Corporation. And it was staggering to me, because people don't get it, right? They have no idea that the reason schools cannot divest from war is because they are making money from war, just like the corporations are, right? Just like those big 5 are. This is why, Ricky, you just missed she done popped on, missed the whole thing after she the reason I got sent down that rabbit hole. So, but it's a lot. And I really want people to take the time to start following the money and understanding that this is why we can't have nice things.
So that's the thumbnail, like the headline. The headline of my review of Burton's book is "Read It," and the headline of yours is "That's why we don't have nice things."
That's why we don't have nice things, because we're too busy paying for war. Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I mean, all seriousness, to be fair, it makes perfect sense. I mean, universities have always had an intimate relationship with intelligence, defense, corporate interests, and why wouldn't they?
Right.
It makes sense. You would want to have a society where that has institutions dedicated to the organized research of everything as much as possible, and that would satisfy the needs of these entities, or at least prepare people to go on to do the interests of these entities. It makes perfect sense.
It does.
I remember we were at a who was I with that day at the University of Maryland when I was in grad school. We were at the eatery, wherever, where the little restaurants are, and somebody in like a mascot uniform. I don't even remember what was the mask. It was like some that you would see like at a baseball game or something. Came over and said, "Hey, I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. It was like, I'm spooky. Do you want to come and to information day about the CIA? And I do remember saying, kind of smiling, be like, you're at the wrong table, my man. Like, I was like, you've come to the wrong, but they were, but it was like some little. But then I remember looking it up, and this is, I don't know to what extent it's still the case. This is 20 years already, but at the time in the early 2000s, the University of Maryland was like or a major CIA recruitment spot. But I just didn't realize that at least part of it was them just rolling up on you at the calf, like, "Hey, want to join the CIA?" It's like, man, you at the wrong table, dude.
So I put in the chat real quick. So this was part of something like an aside for what I discovered as I was down in this rabbit hole. And I don't know how many people are familiar with that chart, but it is, Lord.
And essentially just to consolidation in the defense industry, and showing from 1980 to 2015, all of the companies that got consumed or subsumed within the five big ones: General Dynamics, Raytheon, that produced Lloyd Austin, the current Secretary of Defense, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing.
Yep.
And to the point, again, I remember this is some years ago, but one of my keynote experience stories is being asked when I was still in communications at Morgan, did I want to participate in an effort to take money from Lockheed Martin? No, these are two separate things. No, I'm sorry, two separate things. One was to take money from the to take money from AFRICOM to help them message AFRICOM, whose first leader, Kip Ward, was a Morgan grad. And I remember I sent an email back to the group, and I said, shouldn't we even discuss whether we should do this? Because it was accepted that we were going to do it. So it was a request for who was going to participate. And my response was, should we maybe have a discussion about should we do this?
Right.
And I never got another email. The other one is that Lockheed Martin is, or at least used to always
in deep with Morgan State. I grew up with a dude who went to Morgan State and ended up at Lockheed Martin because they're so close in proximity.
Used to see signs regularly. Come to the Lockheed Martin sponsored this. Lockheed Martin sponsored that, and it's and this again was all in the comms bill. So it was a lot of it, from my perspective, had to do with how do we shape the messaging around defense spending.
Right.
Although I can't be for sure what they were doing.
And it's interesting because when when Ricky first sent me the thing, I was looking for those 5, right? What I came across was a historical program, like a listing of how all of those 5 were quietly replaced one by one with these smaller laboratories, right? And I think it was because the government was feeling the heat, right? Like, why is all this money going to these particular, not that the money stopped going, because that Twitter thread includes the most recent contracts to every one of those 5. And then one contract that's less than, I think the smallest one was like $600 and something million, right? So in the billions are these contracts that are going out. So Raytheon, 1.2 billion, another Raytheon, 621,000. I went through because I was just curious, like this, you're on mute.
It's good I'm on mute because I was all wrong. That's why I was looking to interrupt you, because I thought I was on it because I misread. These are Raytheon contracts for work, or this one is a Raytheon contract for work in Ukraine.
Well, it's for work to support the effort in Ukraine. Right. So everything's being built here and then being sent there. Kill vehicles, Northrop Grumman. Oh, I apologize, y'all. I was incorrect. $542 million is actually smaller.
Get it right.
Northrop Grumman. I know. The nerve. Lockheed Martin, another $600 million.
These
General
are the little
Dynamics,
moments where I'm proud of myself.
Billion. Why?
Because I was like, as soon as Biden announced the end to Afghanistan, I was like, how long before the next one?
Right.
There gotta be another one. You can't cut that money off.
You can't. And this is why, I mean, literally, like, this is why.
Coastal defense. Oh, man, son.
This is why. So this is why you can't, this is why this trying to fight this country on stopping war, right? That battle is I mean, it's like, how do you even begin to get that to be a conversation? Because killing other people is just too profitable, right? The empire, it makes too much money off of war. I mean, billions and billions of dollars going to build war, like to build things to use in war and to build things to use for war, right? And now I don't even know if you heard, like, we're going back to this, everything that's happening now, what happened with Hamas. They're using Hamas now as an excuse to kind of funnel back into really watching what everybody does, right? Did you see that? That's now another conversation that started, and I think I still have it up on my computer.
I also saw how they're using shout out to Political Prisoner Report from PP News from Freedom Archives. They had a story about how Israel's using sound warfare against prisoners, like sonic warfare. And so everything is being justified to the point I understand to be made here, being made here to justify all forms of military assaults are being justified. So counterterror director used Hamas attack to justify mass surveillance program renewal. During the Senate briefing last week, a federal counterterrorism official cited October 7th Hamas attack while urging Congress to reauthorize a sprawling and controversial surveillance program repeatedly used to spy on U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. As evidenced by the events of the past month, the terrorist threat landscape is highly dynamic, and our country must preserve counterterrorism fundamentals to ensure constant vigilance. Wasn't that the name of some program, Constant Vigilance? I feel like that was like some sort of, I feel like, was it in a movie maybe? I feel like this has been used as some sort of, anyway, this was said by the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Christine Abizaid, to the Senate Committee on Homeland Security after making repeat references to Hamas's attack on Israel. I haven't read it, so I was a little bit hesitant, but after seeing that, let me just share something with you. In Propaganda in Focus, and I did notice this because that's where I published my review of Burton's book. There is a story on here about, where is it? Is it this one? It's about representations of war, propaganda in war. But one of the arguments is it in this one? Oh, I can't share from that screen. You know, maybe that's a good sign. The point is, because I haven't read the article and I don't know, but the point is, it's an article raising at least the question with some references. I don't know to what extent it's evidence that the attack on October 7th, or the response or the counterattack on October 7th was, if not set up by, known about or welcomed by Netanyahu and his crew. And it reminded me, reading that, it reminded me of what I've read at various occasions, instances around Pearl Harbor, for instance, where it was less a surprise than people would want to acknowledge, with the understanding that this would then give U.S. justification for entering the war and do whatever it's going to do.
Right.
So, and I don't want to take anything away from Palestinians, but I don't know. I don't put it past anything.
Right. And we discussed this the first time we had a real conversation about what was happening there. And I brought this up because it was something that Linda SwR had talked about on her show. the possibility that this was in some way allowed to happen in order to create this reasoning. And Ricky at the time had brought up, that they didn't really need an excuse, which was correct. But they've gone so far beyond.
Part of the argument in this article was that that what they did need was new justification given the lack of popularity of Israel and Netanyahu in particular.
Right.
Even among Jews in Israel.
Right.
So it was not that they in general needed a new justification, but specific to Netanyahu and Israel's image around the world, and to the point that I raised in that other video around that Burton sent me the link to around the ADL saying that they have a generational crisis in terms of the image of Zionism in Israel among youth.
Right.
Part of that was wrapped up. There was a couple other arguments, but I haven't. I would like to read it more carefully. But the point is,
and it could, Mani said it could be both. It could be, and
it could be both,
and it could be both. And I don't think we'll ever fully know what happened. Right. I mean, now you have so many stories that are finally coming out about, what the IDF was up to on 10/7 and how that resulted in a lot of death of the Israeli citizens. And no one talked about that, right? No one pointed that out at the moment. And very few people are still talking about it now. Like it's not a common conversation to discuss, that. That is true. They never did. So it's just so, imperialism is just so wildly, like, I'm such a, and obviously, like, I'm a school counselor, so I am deeply invested in giving people the ability to survive, right? In helping them navigate, in giving people plans and helping them like try to see like, how do I manage this situation so that I can be successful or whatever have you. Like, that's my wheelhouse. So the idea of setting up a situation for another person that is intentional to destroy them, right? Like, you intentionally went in with the ongoing plan of how are you going to rid the earth of this population of people so you can steal their land and their resources, right? I don't have it in me to understand how people can be like that, like how they sleep at night being like that, like how they live and breathe and kiss their children being like that. Like, I just don't, and my poor,
you on the other side.
Right. And I don't have it in me to see it. And I get very emotional about these things sometimes because I don't understand killing other people just so you can take their shit. Right? Like, I don't have it in me. And one of the conversations that I had with my son about what was happening, because I really wanted him to understand, I said, you have to, when you think about Palestine and Palestinians, if you really want someone to understand, tell them that this is what happened here. The colonizers came, they started killing people so they could take the land and the resources. And then they put them where they wanted them to go so they would be out of the way. And then they slowly encroached on that space because they wanted more and more and more. I said, it is literally rinse and repeat with imperialism. And that's why you have to argue about it no matter where it's happening and who it's happening to.
As soon as any of those groups spoke up or rose up in a way that made anybody uncomfortable, wipe them out.
I watched a great reel on Puerto Rico and how it was the same thing, right? They colonized, they killed the people, they took the land. When the people rose up and tried to fight, they labeled them as terrorists, and then they killed them off. and then they silenced them. Like it's
It
literally
literally means rich port. Puerto
right.
Rican means rich port. And that's
Yep.
how the Spanish viewed it. And that's how the US has ever viewed it since they took over.
Right.
That's all it is. And the people are just in the way
Yep.
or to be part of the extraction of resources and labor and wealth.
Right.
It's crazy. Um, yeah. I mean, just to your point though, and I actually, adopt this for my personal life, to be honest, that even if you want to start with October 7th, my thing is still, even if you want to start with what you think I've done to you, it's your response to me that tells me what you initially thought of me in the first
Exactly.
place.
Exactly. Because if you're
So
willing to wipe all of us off the planet, all of us off
where
the
were we
planet.
at the beginning?
Right. Right.
So
all right. So we got like
I'm watching the
I have
clock.
I have a
9
45
minutes.
I know I have a 45-minute drive to where I got to go, and they know I'm going to be late. So I don't want to be too late. But so let's real quick. So the CCR is going to sue Biden in the United States on behalf of the Palestinians. And you know what the first thing I thought of was, right? You know what the first thing I thought of was?
No.
Daruba.
I had that thought too. That's a good point. Daruba's
literally the
influence is
first
everywhere.
So I thought this was interesting. You do better with these.
Well, Palestinians sue Biden for failure to prevent genocide, seek emergency order to stop military and diplomatic support for Israeli government assault on Gaza. Today, Palestinians asked a federal court to enjoin President Biden, Secretary of State Blinken, and Secretary of Defense Austin from providing further arms money and diplomatic support to Israel on grounds that there is an unfolding genocide by the state of Israel against the civilian population of Gaza, and the United States officials have a legal duty to prevent and not further this most serious of crimes. So right on. I mean, why not? You know what I mean?
The legal, when I tell you this hit me, so I was like, oh, and then I watched, so in Ireland, there's a massive push in Ireland to get the Irish government to file charges against Netanyahu and Israel via the ICC, even though just like the US, they don't really listen to the ICC either, but just to have it on the books. And they did a meeting where they debated this, putting this thing forward. And I didn't share a link for it there. I probably should have. And it's like an hour long, but it's one person after another just standing up and expressing why Ireland should be behind this push to get charges against Netanyahu and Israel for what they're doing to the Palestinian people. And it made me think of we charge genocide, which is however many decades old now. And also made me think of the most recent report to the UN by the International Commission that I had brought. I think we put it up like a few weeks ago that Professor Campbell was the special rapporteur for, that we talked about. And so, I really started thinking about this legal path to simply like pointing out, y'all are killing people, right? Because I fully charge the US with genocide against Black people via the armed agents of the state. Fully charge it. Let's do it. Fully charge it. Let's go. And so this project that Daruba, set forth, I really, when I saw that was literally the first thing that came to my mind was, I wonder, is this, is this a group that people can go to and say, like, can you do this for Black folks too here?
Well,
like, is this
I am a supporter of the Abolitionist Law Center. So I did recently reach out to them.
Okay.
And raise Daruba's plan and say, is this, they haven't gotten back to me yet, but I did reach out. I would be interested to see if we could get any, or what is the thinking on it. I mean, maybe maybe they have thought about it. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's a reason why they haven't done it yet. I'd be interested just to hear whatever they could share about what their thoughts on that tactic. But
and I'd be curious if, can any family, and I think I said this maybe last week or the week before, but any family who at any time lost someone due to the behavior of the armed agents of the state, can they be listed? Right? Because there's no limitation to a murder case, right? Like, it's always there. And so I feel like, if at any point you lost somebody because the police, the armed agents of the state were at fault, like, can you be listed as part of this class action lawsuit? Because you're gonna get, I mean, how many people can be part of that lawsuit if it's all of us, right? If it's every single family that has lost someone due to the behavior of the armed agents of the state, how many thousands of people are we talking? Tens of thousands of people. I mean, it's over 1,000 every year. And that's only since they started tracking it. And it's been 10 years they've been tracking it. And they're not getting everybody. Right? So.
And even when they track it, as we started the show off with, they can hide their involvement. Just hide the whole body. So we have no idea, to your point,
Right. So, all right. So let's start to wrap up. So just so the audience knows, last week we played an excerpt from WBAI that included information from a young woman named Tahani Mustafa. And I brilliantly reached out to her organization to see if
you don't say so yourself.
If we don't say that. But she wrote me back this morning and I was very excited, and she's more than happy to come on. And since the violence has now completely, we completely dropped the facade of pretending like they're not trying to also kill people in the West Bank. And so now that curtain is up, I think it would be a great conversation to have. So let's see if we can't get her on, next week. Let's have. She says she was like, I'm open. Let me know, and we'll do it. Mahi's gonna come back, which will be great because she wants to talk about that charter.
That is dope. I'll make sure I'm keeping up with the run sheet.
I'll be wilding though. Like, I'm not. It's not totally your fault, because sometimes stuff comes to me on like a Friday night, and I'm like, oh, I gotta put it on.
It's all good.
We can't. Not.
I'll keep hitting refresh. And
I have somebody from my GPM group is now in Syria, so I'm gonna hit him up and see if he has an interest in coming on and talking. Somebody else just moved back to Ghana, so I got some I got some fingers out there. We're gonna see what we can do, but the goal really is to keep eyes and ears open and let people understand, like, this is everywhere. We gotta keep pushing this fight and giving people information. And I apologize to everybody. You shared the spreadsheet and I forgot to change the share. So it is now open to anyone who has the link. So all of you who couldn't get into it the minute that the link was available, I apologize.
And we can put it in the show description too. I can put it
and there. People, please go and dig into that spreadsheet and look at how deeply rooted the Department of Defense and these research things are, as part of our educational system. And this is why they don't want nobody to learn nothing. They don't want you to read. They don't want you to invest. They don't want you to study. They don't want you to research. They don't want you in no rabbit holes. So that's why y'all got me. And you got Jared accommodating me and my crazy.
It's an honor because we got to prevent the.
You just don't read, beloved.
We got to prevent it to the extent possible. You know what I mean?
So
All right, we on point with the clock. Everybody come back in 30 minutes for Warrior Class. Renee, it's been another pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. And we look forward to next week. And but a lot more coming up on the platform. Like I said, Warrior Class, Sundays tomorrow. You never know what else is coming. So make sure you have the bell rung, like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. And we'll catch you next time on Saturday. Woo!
Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on 3 of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, and did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.